You're going to have failures in life all the time. And in sports, you're probably going to have some sort of failure that you have to deal with, and you have to figure out how to move past that. And what are you going to do next? And then when you do have that failure, how do you come through it, as well as when you have success?
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Dear Young Athlete podcast, where we talk to coaches and athletes about their journeys and what advice they would have for their younger selves. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson. I'm a speaker, author, and aspiring Paralympian. I've had the privilege and the opportunity to interview over 25 high-level leaders that share their stories and their insights on leadership and how to be successful. We have another great episode coming right up, so let's get into it. What's up, beautiful people? Today I'm here with a very special guest, the man I get to speak to today. He was a collegiate athlete. Now he is a head high school coach. He's a husband. He's a father. He's an educator. And above all that, he is a man of God, a man of faith. Can't wait to hear his story and the wisdom he will share with us. So without further ado, Braxton Lindow. Am I saying that right, Lindow?
Absolutely. Lindow like window.
Perfect. Braxton, welcome. And I'm glad you're here. You're a head high school coach. You played college sport, but I like to always take it back to the beginning. How did you first fall in love with sports?
Yeah, so I'm first of all thankful to be here, honored and humbled as I looked at some of your guests that you've had. You've had some incredible coaches and people, so glad to be on here. It also drives me nuts when I go to listen to some of these things and people just talk about their story the whole time, and it's like, sometimes give me something I can use, so hopefully I don't go too crazy with some of those things, and hopefully I give you something applicable. But
you'll do great.
Ever since I remember, I was involved in sports. Grew up in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, a small town. I was a three-sport athlete: football, basketball, baseball. Basketball was definitely number 3. I was not that great at it, but was a 3-year starter in football, 4-year starter in baseball. That doesn't mean I was elite by any means. There were no D1s knocking on the door or anything. Had the opportunity to play for my dad as a baseball player and as a football player too. He was head baseball and assistant football. Had some interest in playing both in college, but ended up going with baseball. I had an ACL injury my senior year of football, so that kind of steered me towards the baseball only route. But I knew I always wanted to come back to football, so coaching wise, that's been a great step for me as I've graduated from college. Graduated from Northwestern in St. Paul, overlapped with Andy Peterson, who you've already had on this show, and had some great times there. From there, I've went to Randolph, Minnesota, and got hired, and now I'm going into my first year as head football coach, so pretty excited for that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let's back up a little bit to the high school experience. Getting to be a 3-year starter in football, 4-year in baseball. That sounds like a really cool experience. Bring us into your world at that time. Did it get to your head, or did you stay humble, or what was that like?
Maybe at times I thought I was better than I was, but I think I had a pretty good idea of where I was going to end up, and it probably wasn't going to be in professional sports. So, I got to play some quarterback my last year of high school, played some outside linebacker the first couple of years, and then spent most of it as a catcher in baseball. Kind of played some other spots depending on who was pitching, but those are kind of the main spots.
Yeah. And at what point then did you get on that ACL injury?
So that was week 6 of my senior year of football. So I got to play some, just a little bit over half the season, and that's part of the faith journey as well, as that part got taken away. And I know your word is resiliency, so learn to I had already been a Christian, so practicing what I preached there and being resilient through trials.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that would have been hard though. And then how did you decide where to go to school? And, you mentioned baseball, football. Bring us into that, as you think about you're going to be coaching players who are trying to figure out that next chapter in life. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, and I actually came into Northwestern as a transfer, and I really needed the school. Not that I was doing anything outwardly bad, but I just needed a solid foundation of a Christian school and how to really learn how to live as a Christian in the next stage of my life. So that was big. That kind of that summer after my first year in college, and ended up meeting great people and great coaches and great teachers, and ended up having a great experience there.
So where'd you go initially and why?
I actually started at St. Olaf. The I believe the week that I tore my ACL in high school, I had scheduled a visit at Northwestern, and it just didn't work out because I was hurt that weekend, and had some interest there, but that was kind of my sign that I wasn't going to end up there. And then I was pretty comfortable at St. Olaf, and had a decent experience there my first year. But like I said, I think it was that hunger for something more and then something deeper out of the college experience, as a looking to figure out how to live life as a Christian. And we were still dumb college kids that did like interesting, crazy things, but the foundation was there, and the hunger for all growing in our faith was there.
Yeah. What how so St. Olaf is not far from Cannon Falls, right?
Very close. So I was very comfortable there, and
Yeah.
had some contact with them. So I felt comfortable going there, and that was going to be kind of the first year, and
Yeah.
that's where I ended up that first year.
And what was it about Northwestern? Did you know anyone there, or had you talked to coaches?
I had some contact with coaches who had coached there before. The one was Scott Bistendahl. He's an assistant football coach, and he's actually a Randolph alum. So I had known him a little bit before, and then I ended up not even playing football there. I ended up playing baseball there. But the Christian environment was something that really drew me in, and looking for that base and that foundation going into the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Bring us into then going to Northwestern and playing baseball. Did you get to play, and what was that like?
Yeah, I got to play pretty much right away. Uh, I had so you had Andy Peterson on. His senior year was my first year there, and we actually both. I know the big part of his story was tearing his hip labrum. I did my shoulder labrum that same year, and ended up. It was early enough that I ended up going for the medical red shirt because I had that extra year, and teaching wise, I knew I was going to be there for an extra semester anyway, so I kind of stretched it into that. I saved a couple classes for that one extra baseball year. So tore my labrum, ended up getting surgery, did the medical red shirt, played a couple more years there. We had a couple runs at the conference tournament, but never ended up winning it. The last year we had kind of a tough year, but it was a good experience playing there and playing under coaches who are going to set you up as a Christian, not just as an athlete, but as a future husband, future father, and hopefully productive member of society.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people growing up now, we didn't grow up with social media, but everyone wants to go D1 and people kind of make fun of D3 sports, gets a bad rap sometimes. What do you think, having played D3, that, you'd want your players to know maybe they're not going to be, getting a scholarship, but maybe they still want to play and could play at D3?
Yeah, and I wasn't elite by any means, but I wanted to get the most out of my athletic ability. So it was an opportunity to keep playing and keep going and continue to use the gifts that God has given me to go try and play the best that I can. And it was a good opportunity to continue that. And then along the way, you're building relationships, making friends, and having teammates that are going to be like your brothers. You live together and you do everything together for those 4 years, that period of time. So yeah, it's still a very good experience, and it's something that I definitely treasured.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you knew you wanted to be a teacher, and then did you know you wanted to teach and coach? And what was it that made you want to do that or know that you wanted to? Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the episode, I want to ask you to go on whatever platform you're on and follow and subscribe. Give us a rating and review us and help this podcast reach more people. You can head to the website 1020words.com/DYA. That's TEN20words.com/DYA to learn more about us, check out our merchandise, or figure out how you can have me come speak to your team or program, or potentially be a guest on the podcast. I look forward to connecting with you. Let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, and I went through many periods of indecision still. I bounced from like a kinesiology, like exercise science kind of career, and then wanted to maybe do business. But then settled on teaching because of just the impact that you can make. And coaching is definitely a part of it. Like I said earlier, I knew I always wanted to come back to football in some capacity. I didn't think it would necessarily work out the way that it has in Randolph. And we're a small school, but I'm in my 10th year here and walking into a first year as head coach. And so I kind of trusted that was going to be where my path was, and go try and walk on it as best as I can.
Yeah, and you said you played for your dad. So your dad was a coach. Was he a teacher too?
Yep, so I saw that as well. It ends up kind of being the family business, so I ended up following in his footsteps too. And then actually had the opportunity to, the last couple of years now, as we've grown as a school, we've coached some baseball games against him too.
Oh, fun. Huh. So, you have kids now. How many kids do you have now?
One, daughter Riley is 2.5.
Nice. Okay. And so was your dad able, how do you guys do with the coach versus dad dynamic? Like, was he able to turn it off?
Yeah, we did pretty good. He was same at practice as he was at home. I mean, maybe he's a little bit harder on us than some of the other kids, but we understood that. So that was something that we just knew we were going to have grown up with.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So you you mentioned, growing up, having the faith background, wanting to be at a Christian university. So tell us kind of about your faith journey at the beginning and what have been some of the pivotal moments in your experience.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home with the quote unquote boring testimony. So always went to church. Parents, siblings were also. I have two younger brothers, so they were all Christians as well. And the ACL definitely shook me that senior year of being able to practice what I preach. And then also that senior year we had a house fire and ended up losing pretty much everything. So two events that year that really tested me, and those were good, as we talked about earlier, resiliency moments of learning um, how to go through trials. I know there's a verse, I think it's in James, that talks about considering it joy when you go through trials. So those are two big ones. And then I'd say Northwestern is where I really grew the most, though, because you're on your own, you're away from the family, and you learn how to live as a Christian. So you have people who are around you to support you. I had the opportunity to go out into a lot of schools as an education major and go practice some of those skills that we were talking about at school. And it was an opportunity to still come back to a place with a good Christian foundation. So uh, definitely a good experience for me, and have continued that as I go into my teaching and coaching career. So that's kind of the basic story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is no boring testimony, I would say. Some people have a super dramatic, they were doing crime or doing drugs or whatever, and God saved them. Um, which obviously is amazing, but it's also amazing. It's a miracle that parents who raise you in God's ways and to miss out on a lot of pain and trauma that you could have otherwise had. But it sounds like going to Northwestern, you kind of had that transition from this is my family's faith to this is my faith. Um, and I wonder if you can give a word of advice thinking about, your players who maybe are seniors and maybe they have a family faith, but they're gonna go off to college. What does that look like, and what kind of advice would you have there?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that this season we won't really know how successful this team will be until about 15, 20 years down the road when they're husbands and fathers and hopefully involved in church or involved in some sort of faith journey. Um, and I'm not, I've never been a vocal outward guy, really. I think there's a good quote that it's not really a verse, but I'm sure you could find a verse that goes with it, and it's preach the gospel at all times and use words if necessary. And that's kind of how I've lived through my life. I think that's how I thrive, and I I thrive in the consistency of the day in and day out, and building relationships and using that. And like I said, use words if necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. That, that's an interesting quote to me, and I've heard it, and I I think it's good, and I think it is often necessary to use some words at the appropriate time, right? Because somebody may see you and say, "Oh, Braxton, he's a great guy. He has this hope, he has joy." And if they don't know why, you know, it's I think a good verse is it's in First Peter, can't remember which chapter, but he says, always be ready to give a response to those who question the hope within you, but do it with gentleness and respect. And so I think you make a good point. If you live a certain way, people will wonder, why do you have this hope? And then that becomes, an opportunity. So that's great. What then, as a coach, you're going to be the head coach now for the first year. You're looking to build the culture. Bring us into your world as far as that goes.
Yeah. First of all, nothing, none of this would happen without my wife, Ashley. So she is very supportive. She's been the rock at home. She's been rock steady with Riley, making sure everything's going smoothly at home so that I can do it. So I don't think she gets enough credit for what she does. She's been very supportive. She also gives me a kick in the butt when I need it. There's a funny story last year. We had a good group of seniors and underclassmen that we had high hopes for, and we were just kind of struggling a little bit. We had a one score loss, and then we had 2 1-point losses. Mm-hmm. So at this point we were 1-6, and I don't remember if she asked me about it the next morning, but somehow it came up, the game last night, and she said, "Well, you guys kind of suck this year." So it's good. She tells it like it is, and she provides, like I said, both support and a kick in the butt when I need it. And so it's been great to have her at home. Culture-wise, so we're going to work with core values. So we're going to spell team. So T is trust, and then E is effort, A is going to be attitude, and then M is going to be mental toughness. So that's our core 4. We'll use that as our core values. And then about 10 years ago, Mike Schmidt was hired. I'm very thankful for him for giving me the opportunity to work for him as an assistant. He brought in a mantra of bring the wood. So Randolph wouldn't exist if it weren't for railroads. So we have a 6x6 thing that looks like a railroad tie that we bring around, and we talk about what it would have taken to build a railroad, some of the energy and the effort that it takes, as well as you lay that foundation for the next group ahead of you. So that'll be our 5th one. So we'll have the core 4, and then we'll bring it all together, make a good strong fist with bring the wood. And so that's what we're looking for going into the season. And like I said earlier, we could have a great season win-loss wise. We could not win a game, but we really don't know how successful this team's going to be until 15, 20 years down the road when they're all husbands and fathers and making an impact on the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. Is I went to Bethel. Sorry, I know you went to Northwestern, kind of
all good.
Little rivalry. No, all part of the same team. deep down. But I think it's the founder of Bethel said, you can measure our success by the impact that our graduates have on the world. And I think, yeah, it's like everyone, we're human and we want to win games. Everyone likes to win. But at the end of the day, your purpose is a lot deeper, and what kind of impact are you going to have? I actually just attended the retirement party for my high school football coach, and to see how many people that he had impacted their lives was really amazing. And then a lot of those people go on and then they coach and they impact, a ton of people's lives. So it's kind of cool to think, yeah, you may be coaching a team and you could win state, you could win 0 games, but you might be coaching some guys that are going to go out and coach in the future, or they're going to go be leaders in business or in church or in education. And yeah, the idea of building a foundation for the next group, I love that. I think it's awesome. So I hope you guys win games, but either way, that's great. That's what they'll remember,
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I started this podcast, I would say growing up, I thought life was all about sports, but I know now that sports are all about life. And so in sports, obviously, there's so many life lessons that we can learn. But if you could pick kind of that number one lesson that you've learned in sports, you've seen it apply in your life, what would that lesson be and how have you seen it apply in your life? Hey man, cool shirt. Oh, thank you, man. What is that logo? I've never seen it before. Yeah, it's actually based on 1 Timothy 4:8, which says physical training is good, but training in godliness is better, having value in this life and the next. The 8 is like an infinity because when you have a relationship with God, it lasts forever. Oh, you believe in Jesus or what? Yeah, bro, I play the game all for God's glory. He changed my life and I want to do what I can to glorify Him. Is it a brand or whose logo is that? Yeah, it's actually the theme verse for a cool podcast I listen to called Dear Young Athlete. It's a sports leadership podcast. You should check it out. So where can I get one? Yeah, you just go to their website, 1020words.com/DYA. That's TEN20words.com/DYA. If you use the code DYA20 with all caps, you can get 20% off your first order. They have t-shirts, shorts, hoodies, crew necks, you name it. Anything you want. Yeah, man, I guess I would like to learn more. Oh, yeah, man, we got Bible study later with some of the guys. If you want to come check it out. All right, bro. See you later. All right, bro. Peace.
There's so many lessons about being part of a team and being with people who maybe don't necessarily get along with you that well, but you figure out a way to get along. So those are the day in, day out ones. But I think the most is how to handle both success and failure. So you're going to have failures in life all the time. And in sports, you're probably going to have some sort of failure that you have to deal with, and you have to figure out how to move past that. And what are you going to do next? And then when you do have that failure, how do you come through it, as well as when you have success? So do you get up on the high horse and do you keep riding, and do you get big headed about it, or are you going to stay humble and keep working hard, and be that good teammate that everybody wants to be around as well? So handling failure is very important, but handling success is also almost just as important.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people talk about handling failure, and you're a baseball guy, so baseball is like the sport of failure, right? You're gonna not succeed more often than you do succeed, and you could still be an All-American, and yeah, failing in front of your peers, your community, and then getting back up and trying again is so important. But you make a really good point. Just as important, what do you do when you succeed? Do you crash and burn because you can't handle it, or do you stay humble and keep working?
Yeah, and I would say that that football team that we had last year was very good at handling failure. We had the one score loss in the first game of the season. Then there was one in the middle of the season that was a 1-pointer, and then week 7 we had a 1-pointer, and then we ended up winning week 8. We had an upset in the first round of the playoffs, had an upset in the second round of the playoffs, and then we ended up making it to the section championship. So good lesson for both kids and coaches of, we have failure and we didn't think that things were going to go quite this way, but we ended up working our way out of that and having a really fun playoff run at the end of last fall.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hopefully you can build on that going into this year.
Yes, sir. Hoping so.
And what does that look like in life? Like handling success and failure.
Yeah, and I can't think of specific examples off the top of my head, but you might have something that comes up at your job or at home, and then you have to humble yourself and know that I maybe didn't do the right thing that I should have, or I did the right thing, but there's going to be something that comes up next that I need to be able to learn from and handle as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's easy to, like you said, with success. You can do all these things to make you successful, and then stop thinking you need those things. But humility keeps you striving for that success. I'm just thinking of the example. My wife and I, we just celebrated 10 years of marriage. But you think about marriage, right? And when you're, falling in love, you go on dates and you leave notes and you give flowers, and, it's like when you get married, now you have to keep doing the things that made you fall in love, or else it's not going to work. And, you could take that in sports or in a job or whatever it is. Like, you could set a goal. I'm going to bench, 250, and you could work super hard and do that. And then if you stop benching, you're going to lose that very fast. And So yeah, I think that is a great word. Um,
Yeah, and I've been running the weight room here for um so Coach Schmidt had control of it most of the early few years that I was here. Then he stepped into an administration role, and I kind of took it over. So I've absolutely seen that, where you see the kids that put in consistent work and they have success and they end up reaping the benefits of that, and that's been great to see.
yeah, yeah. I mean, plus when you work hard in the weight room, it's not just about getting stronger, but it's about investing effort because when you get out on the field, it means more to you knowing that you invested, your whole summer, 4 or 5 days a week doing weight room, doing agilities. Like, yes, you got stronger, faster, but you also feel that when you get out on the field, like I've invested a lot and this means everything right now. And I've seen programs that do that really well, and then I've seen where that's not done well, and you lose a game, and people don't care that much.
Yeah, and
And then go ahead.
we've had we've had groups that have been really good at that and doing it together. We've I was fortunate we won a state baseball championship in 2022, and that group was very consistent in the weight room, not just individually but together. So they were always here together and very consistent with that, and that's why they had the success that they did. So yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, yeah. And it's something for all of us to think about in life too. So much bigger than sports. But yeah, definitely in sports. It's a big deal. Um you're on the Dear Young Athlete podcast, and so I ask every guest to finish that statement. Dear young athlete blank, what do you want to say to your players? What would you say to a younger Braxton? Give it to us.
Yeah, I'd say step back, relax, take a little breath, and enjoy it. I think I was very uptight just through high school and even into college a little bit. I wanted to do well and I wanted to succeed, and maybe I wasn't the most fun to be around at times because of that. So the kids that can relax and enjoy it, take a breath, and realize that it is just a game and we are here to play fun or play for fun. Those are some of the most important lessons that I can teach to whether it's a current student athlete or even like thinking about my former self. That is probably my number one lesson.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good because if you don't enjoy it, what's the point? If you win state, but you didn't enjoy it, what's the point? If you do enjoy it and you lose every game, you still have that experience, and that's why I think you know people that played sports together are still hanging out when they're 40, 50, 60. It's not because you peaked in high school, it's because you made memories together, and that is more valuable than a trophy. um Gotta enjoy it. That's a good word.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my story. So that's what I've really tried to make sure I instill in some of the kids that I coach.
Is there any practical, as a coach, practical way that you instill joy into the experience?
Um, if you watched me coach, I'm never gonna wow you with probably anything. I'm never gonna be the in your face uh, yeller motivator guy, but like I said earlier, I thrive in the consistency. So the day in, day out, um, I'm here in the weight room 3 mornings a week, which again, Ashley has been wonderful for that because she gets pretty much everything going at home. So for the athletes to know that I'm there for them all the time is super important for me because that's why you do it, is to build relationships and build up, in my case, young men to be husbands and fathers and end up going into society and doing the things that you instill in them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one, I love how, you've shouted out your wife. I think that is so important and just shows like what it looks like to be a team as a couple, and that you're both going after the same goal, and both playing different roles, but they're equally valuable.
Yeah, and I mean, you asked about my athletic background. She's the real athlete. She played college softball, and then she's done a couple of marathons recently, a couple ultra marathons. Her last two marathons were London and Chicago, so I'm sure she'll hate me talking about that, but she's the real athlete of the family.
Oh, wow. Same here. So my wife is she's the real deal, multi-sport, collegiate athlete, all conference. Um, so yeah, same here. Same here. Um, and then just something thinking about like maybe one day you cancel practice and play wiffle ball, or you know do something fun outside of football to make sure these guys are having that joy, because ultimately you got to keep that love for the game, and sometimes you got to get out of the day to day and do something different.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm excited to come visit you guys, and I appreciate you taking time to share your story and your wisdom. Any last words for the people?
No, thank you for having me on, and definitely looking forward to having you share your story with our guys and come down in a couple weeks.
All right, cool. Thanks, Braxton.
Yep, thank you.
Peace. And there you have it, one more episode in the books. Thank you so much for listening. As a reminder, make sure you subscribe in whatever platform you're on, that you leave a comment and rate and review. And I want to personally thank you for doing that. And I will see you in the next episode. Peace.